Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast for September 2026. Hope you are all, wait, hold on. I just time traveled. September 2025. Hope you are all doing well and that your day has been good to you, that your week has been good to you. And as we're going to spend a little bit of time today going over some news, that you find some news that is encouraging to you. And if you can't find some news that is encouraging to you, that you can be some news that's encouraging to other people. But hope you are doing well. Uh, Starting off this morning, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and uh, Instagram, and as well as it'll be on YouTube later. Um, but think we're all together. I've got all the things appropriately where they're supposed to be, um, and that we're going to be able to do this with less hiccups than I did the other day. I wasn't quite on my A game. Good morning, Dots. Hey, Josh. Um, so we'll see how it's going and if we can get everything together. But all that being said, good morning, good morning. Um, Tristan, good morning, mate. I got called mate by an Australian. I feel pretty important. Um, I was those memes of when so and so calls you this or whatever else. I got called sugar, or sugar by the voice actress for Rogue from X-Men. So I feel pretty accomplished in my life now. Um, but yeah, it's looking forward to a good day and good morning with y'all. Um, yeah, I think I officially got all the things, all the places, groovy. And we're recording the audio. Make sure I'm actually doing that. All right, y'all. I think we're doing all the things and cooking with gas. So let's get on it. Uh, Starting off the news, only the best for me. Hey, man, I feel honored. Um, but starting off the news, a new rock supergroup is going to be formed or is officially formed from Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish. If you know me, you know I'm a Hootie and the Blowfish fan, have been since like day one. Loved them most of my life. Uh, but the new group is going to be called Howl, Owl, Howl. Just to say that clearly for everybody. Howl, H, then Owl, like a Hootie, and then Howl. Howl, Owl, Howl. Oh, it's going to be such a mouthful. But it consists of Darius Rucker, from Hootie and the Blowfish, uh, the REM bassist Mike Mills, and the Black Crowes drummer Steve Gorman. Um, and they will go on the road in November. And they have a new song out called My Cologne. And it's described as an organic rock root with open-minded alternative flair and matching fluid, feel-oriented rhythm section to the barrel-chested vocal rasp of iconic frontman. Um, Listen, I was so sad when Hootie's last album, which I was grateful for another Hootie album, and it wasn't the worst. But I was so sad when Hootie's last album was classified as country and not alternative, because that hurt my soul. But either way, new music from Darius Rucker and that capacity. Morning, LJ. Um, if you are in my region, you are aware that we be getting rained on every now and again, and that the weather is rough every now and again. And we are currently in hurricane season, and there is a tropical storm called Imelda, which sounds like a villain of some fairy tale, um, that could be impacting our area. Monday to Tuesday, somewhere in that area. It's still too early to fully know where Imelda is going to hit, but it would be wise to go ahead and plan on being prepared for Tropical Storm Imelda. if it does indeed hit to a hurricane level. LJ says, OMG, it's the world famous Hector me. I don't know about world famous, bro. Internationally known Freddie Tiffany. Um, but yeah, President Trump signed an executive order just yesterday to add another 120 days to the TikTok lifespan to give investors chances to get it all purchased and ready to go. But it is looking like TikTok will be sold. And a lot of people aren't trusting of this, feeling like that it could be a setup for more political inspired narratives on TikTok. The president says he has no way of controlling that. He says he would if he could, but exactly. Um, so we'll see how that goes, but that is something that is in the works. Cardi B, if I may have mentioned this last week, I had 11 stories from last week that got lost in the shuffle of my news folder that didn't get reported. So some of this is might be a smidge of a repeat. Cardi B is pregnant with her fourth child. This one is from her current boyfriend, Stefan Diggs. One of the things I failed to mention last night or last week, and obviously it was a big deal, but it was just literally digitally stuck together and it got mixed up. The temporary canceling of the Jimmy Kimmel show and the outrage that followed it over the different groups and media folks and that took place right after that, after Kimmel had made what I originally, I have don't know that if I heard all the commentary, but what sounded more like it was commentary on the right leaning political folks and MAGA and Trump more so than the Kirk family, but I didn't hear everything. Um, but Kimmel's program was canceled for a number of days, and which also sparked an outrage from people that were advocates of free speech. And then that called for over 400, or that didn't call for it. I don't know if it called for it, but it resulted in over 400 celebrities publicly calling out for boycotts of Disney, Hulu, and calling for their cancellation of their subscriptions to ESPN, Disney, and Hulu. Um, and then within a week's time, uh, Kimmel was back and uh, came back with an apology, which, by the way, I would recommend if you want the easiest access to check it out on Relevant Magazine's um, video of it. But in part of Kimmel's comeback, he made commentary on the fact that Erica Kirk had forgiven her husband. It's not sorry, had forgiven her husband's killer. And Kimmel was in his introductory speech on being brought back, was moved to tears in that and said that that's something that we could all have modeled for us. And Kimmel, quote, said that if you are a believer of the followings, or sorry, if you are a believer of the teachings of Jesus, as I am, as he labeled himself as a believer in the teachings of Jesus, um, then that's what it's all about. And so, not, and then he would go on to apologize for his jokes, that he didn't mean them to be hurtful of their family at that time, but he took the time to uh, praise the forgiveness that was shown and also to plug the teachings of Jesus on his comeback. And his comeback for the network brought in over 6 million viewers, even though it wasn't available for everybody to watch live because the Sinclair Group and other news, not or other broadcasting affiliates wouldn't show the Kimmel Show, even though ABC brought it back. So it wasn't available everywhere, but it was still shown enough to get the highest ratings for the Kimmel Show ever. Um, yeah. South Park didn't air last week because they didn't get it done in time. They just straight up didn't. Um, there's been a lot of controversy with singer David. I'm just going to say David, but it's D4VD. Um, there's been a lot of controversy with the body of a young girl that was found in the trunk of one of his vehicles. That, not a vehicle that was in his possession, but his Tesla. And even so, that the young girl and David had matching tattoos. And there's been a lot of speculation and controversy that surrounded that, but there is more details coming out little by little. Um, a 30-year-old guest died on Universal Epic's roller coaster, the Stardust, last Wednesday. A 30-year-old died on it. After investigation, the ride was fully functional and there were no errors in the ride. From what is being reported now, it turns out that the man had a pre-existing spinal condition and kind of, I don't mean this to say this insensitively, but it kind of sounded like he knew better, but he did it anyway. And as someone who is currently sitting with two spinal issues that needs to be dealt with, I get it because I want to ride a roller coaster too. And if you took me to Universal right now, I would get on the Mario stuff and hope that I made it. And if I got to go out, I can at least go out on a Mario ride. But it is saddened, but they did rule that it wasn't anything to do with the ride itself. It was that the man had a pre-existing condition, and that is still sorry. But um, I'm sorry for his loss in that capacity. Um, Wake Forest University announced that, which is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it might be a school I'd hope my daughter goes to as she's picking her colleges. Winston-Salem University has announced, sorry, I said Winston-Salem, Wake Forest University has announced that it will be tuition free for anyone making less than $200,000 as a household. That's great. Also, the NC State is going to be guaranteed admission. Daredevil Born Again has officially been renewed for season three on Disney Plus. Live Nation and Ticketmaster are in the process of being sued over the accusations that they have partnered with scalpers to manipulate ticket prices and mark things up, which honestly I wouldn't believe. Uh, Bad Bunny is currently being sued for $1 million by a Puerto Rico resident whose home was used in the Star's short film and residency this summer. Um, uh, Tristan says, I've been following the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, watching the apology with a discerning ear. It was agonizing to watch. Um, Tristan, as encouragingly as you can, or carefully as you can, elaborate a little bit on that. I'm just curious on your thoughts. I don't have to read them if they don't need to be read, but I'm just curious what you're thinking. Batman number one. Hold on, I actually think I have that right here. Since it's in my news and actually have props. Oh, nope, that's not it. Here we go. Batman number one by Matt Fraction, uh, Jorge Jimenez, and Tomo Mori, has sold more than 500,000 copies within its first month of release, which is big numbers for Batman. And I will say, spoiler for the Pull List podcast coming up. We got to record that next week. But spoiler for the Pull List podcast, this is hands down one of the best DC books I've read in a long while, and it's definitely the best Batman books and makes the other Batman books look bad. But this sold great numbers. And if this continues at this pace, it's going to be majestic and wonderful. So, um, throwing that out, dope book. But spoiler for the Pull List podcast because definitely we'll be talking about that. Henry Cavill's injury on the Highlander movie has been elaborated on a little bit more, that it was his leg that got injured. Um, Good morning, Kelly. But it was the Cavill's leg that got injured on the Highlander filming. And he did not put out a full information of dates or how long it would take, but he did put a poem out because it's Henry Cavill and he's a giant nerd. And that's why I love him. One of the many reasons. Also, in injuries this week, Tom Holland uh, took a heavy blow to the head while filming Spider-Man Brand New Day, and production had been suspended on Spider-Man Brand New Day for a week following production or following concussion protocol. Uh, Holland does seem to be okay, but he took a blow strong enough. Good morning, Mr. Weimer, Jeff. He took a blow to the head strong enough to leave a mark through his protective mask. But glad he made it and he's okay with that. But we currently have Spider-Man and a Superman down for the count with injuries for the week. Um, if you have ever been to the zoo in North Carolina, the North Carolina Zoo in Asheboro is the largest geographic zoo on the Eastern Hemisphere, Western, Western Hemisphere. And it's a great zoo. Love it. Last week, monkeys escaped the zoo and were running around in North Carolina in the Asheboro region. There's literally footage in Troutman, North Carolina, of monkeys from the zoo running across the power lines in that area. I actually don't know if they came back, but uh, made for a fun day. Uh, American track star Sydney McLaughlin won the gold in the 400 meter World Athletics Championship in the second fastest time ever. Congratulations to Sydney. Um, an athlete equals Usain Bolt's record, winning gold in the same competition. Um, and in the 200-meter competition, and he celebrated it by doing the Goku Kamehameha pose with his medal, or if you want to be a real weeb, the Kamehameha. Um, and I'll get to it in as well, but there's also a cool One Piece thing with some track teams as well. Um, this past weekend was the WrestlePalooza event on okay, Tristan says that Jimmy Kimmel's response came across as very insincere and full of fake tears. It was uncomfortable to watch. I can understand that perspective. Um, I was just happy Jesus got a shout out. It's like, hey, homies. And that wasn't offensive because Jesus gets lots of shouts outs that are offensive. Um, but this past weekend was WrestlePalooza on it was the WWE's first broadcast on ESPN. Um, and it did not get the love that most of the wrestling world would have been happy with. It did feature Brock Lesnar versus John Cena in their final toe to toe, and John Cena brought out an entire like small army of little humans, all wearing Cena gear to watch him wrestle. And then the cameras found lots of angles to show these children's weeping faces as Cena was beaten to a pulp in the ring. Um, yeah, if you bring 30 kids out for the only time they're ever going to see John Cena wrestle live and then watch him lose in a horrific manner, uh, it's pretty sad. On not losing in a horrific manner, the Carolina Panthers won 30 to nothing against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. Cheers. Grateful for that. Um, let's see. Let me back that up one. Cool. All right. Tom Holland covered that. More Tom Holland. DC has officially canceled their DC All In Green Arrow series due to poor sales and low performance. So I saw a new issue of Green Arrow on the shelves this week. It will be coming to an end real, real fast. If you are a DC collector, Ollie's story will not be continuing. Guar, the rock slash metal-ish theatrical band, is facing backlash after beheading an Elon Musk dummy live on stage during their performance at the Riot Fest. Good morning, Darren. Uh, Darren, I could be wrong. I have to check with the producer, but our podcast should be dropping on Love Thy Nerd today, if I'm not mistaken. I'll find out for sure though, but our podcast should be dropping today. Darren works with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we did a podcast on that that'll be coming out on Love Thy Nerd, I believe, today. Um, Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel came back. The paper, the Office sequel series, that premiered on September 4th, I believe, on Peacock. All 10 episodes of the series premiered at once, and it's good. It's not like the greatest thing in the world, but I can say wholeheartedly that it is better than the first season of The Office and that it is better than the first season of Parks and Rec. So with that being said, it's worth watching, and there are some definitely some strong moments in it that make for good television. But all this to say, it started as a exclusive on Peacock streaming. It did so well that it has now been added to NBC's fall lineup and will actually show up on TV in November, broadcasting on uh, NBC. So it did so well streaming that they're actually putting it on TV. So that's a win in terms of their creation for it. Jeff says he's still on the fence about the paper. Listen, I finished all 10 episodes. I think I watched it in a day to maybe 2 days. And I really like the character Mayor, and I like the main character, and Oscar was fun. Darren was nice too. Not no, Detrick. The Italian lady from White Lotus, Esmeralda, I don't believe is a believable character. Like the thing about The Office and the thing about this world should be that these are people that you could run into and it would be awkward in the process. I have a hard time believing that Esmeralda would be a real person. And there's also a British dude working in this paper who just feels like a fake Higgins, like an evil fake Higgins from Ted Lasso. So that makes it a little less fun for me. But I do enjoy it, and yeah, it was worth streaming. Uh, so yeah, for sure on that. But like in terms of it didn't cost me any extra to watch it. I was I'll take it. Um, and it was nice to see Oscar again. And I feel like they gave Oscar a good shot with this one. Um, all right, what's next? Um, cover that. 21 Pilots. Hey yo, let's talk about 21 Pilots for a second. I'm using the box for the stand for my phone. Oh well. 21 Pilots dropped their album Breach a couple weeks ago, and Breach hit number one on the Billboard charts. Um, it's the first time a rock album has been number one on the Breach chart since Tool in 2019. And it's 21 Pilots' first time at the top of the charts since their Blurry Face album in 2015. So there's kind of a beautiful synchronicity. The fact they started a 10-year long storytelling adventure of the Trench storyline in the Blurry Face album. They ended it in the Breach album, and both albums hit number one on the billboards. I'm excited. It's like, hey, moderately a cool kid. Um, and their concert tour has been doing really well, and it's had some weather issues already, which is something I'm not crazy about. The fact that it's our concert is what currently looks like it's wedged in between hurricanes, but here's hoping we make it. But I'm excited for them and the success that they're having with that. Yeah. During the men's 400, sorry, yeah, during the introduction for the men's 4x100 meter relay race at the 2025 World Athletics Championship, the Japanese relay team, the four members of the Japanese relay team each performed a different one of Luffy's gear poses. They did the poses for gear 2 through 5, and they actually timed it with the cameraman to pan to each of them. So, as one dude, as the cameraman panned to one dude, he did the gear 2 pose, punching the ground. As the camera panned, it went to another guy doing gear 3 where he bit his thumb. The next one went to a dude doing bounce man, and then finally to a guy doing Luffy's gear 5 pose. So the anime was well represented at the 2025 World Athletics Championship. It was pretty cool. There was a Dawson's Creek reunion event that happened last week, and James Vanderbeek had to cancel his appearance at the event and have Lin-Manuel Miranda read his places in place. But James Vanderbeek did make a surprise video appearance, even though he canceled. And he's just dealing with cancer, and he's very frail and weak, and took his time to even just send a message. In the process, I'm sure meant a lot to fans. And his wife made some commentary about his health and how much she misses him being in good health. But that means a lot for the fans to do that. Um, Philanthropist Mackenzie Scott donated $70 million to UNCF to financially strengthen historically black colleges and universities. And so she is a philanthropist that has been donating and giving money across different charities. This is one of Scott's largest single donations. It's one of the first that she fully publicly disclosed. She does discuss them, but she's dropping dollars. But she's on a process to raise $1 billion to strengthen 37 of the historically black colleges and universities. Um, so all 37 of them. Oh, so on this note, um, the internet was interneting this week with discussions of the rapture, and it was the internet, and it did the things, um, because that's what we do. I was talking with my daughter on the drive to our house yesterday from her school, and just at how much the young people at her school were freaked out by the whole conversation and everything else. Um, Here's the deal: if you've read a Bible at all, you know that it tells us that we don't know when it's happening, and it's going to come like a thief in the night, and that no one knows the day or hour, not even Jesus. And here's the deal: if a million people on TikTok are saying it's happening on that day, it's not happening on that day. Just because no. And so just watching people do dumb stuff was crazy. People that were selling off their properties and like maxing out their credit cards and stuff like that. Y'all, you got to live wise. You got to be good in your life choices, even if people are on the internet are telling you Jesus is coming back, because it is. My one of my favorite Rick rolls that was wise in the whole process was Reach Records. If you don't know, Reach Record it is Lecrae's uh, Christian hip hop label, and Reach Records put out some commentary on it, stating that a lot of people are talking. They posted the scripture about no man knows the day or the hour, but then they posted and said, "But just in case, we made y'all a playlist." And so Reach Records released the Rap Sure playlist for people who think they're getting raptured. And honestly, it's a bop. It's a great playlist. It's really good, but it's the Rap Sure playlist, and it's available on Spotify with Reach Records. And my favorite thing is it's just got a little girl holding a balloon floating into the air. Um, but yeah, if you needed a playlist for the Rapture, Reach Records has you covered. Um, but yeah, y'all, we gotta do better. And I don't expect people to be better, but we got to do better because that's a lot. Um, if we're going to talk that much about Jesus, make it good. Um, Attack on Titan's creators officially filed a lawsuit this week against the fan studio that made an alternative ending to the franchise of Attack on Titan. They connected to Studio Eclipse about their post promoting the project. The publisher is trying to fully identify the people so they can properly do a lawsuit with it, but they made a alternative ending that some fans feel is better than what the actual creators made, and so they're suing them for it. Um, Jason Kelsey, the man who is always a vibe, joined Monday Night Football this week playing his baritone saxophone with the Baltimore Ravens marching band because he's a vibe. He played his sax, wore the full costume, and you can also see Travis Kelsey cheering him on in the process. But yes, Jason Kelsey in a full marching band uniform is worth the price of admission. Absolutely is. Um, if you are in my area of North Carolina, Columbus County, which is right down the road from me, in the town of Cerro Gordo, a woman was arrested for allegedly stealing money from the Cerro Gordo Fire Department. Tanya King, worked at the Cerro Gordo Fire Department as a treasurer, secretary, and advanced medical technician. She was arrested on Monday, September 22nd, following a review of their financial reports that dates back all the way to March of 2015. She now faces 26 felony counts, including obtaining property by false pretense. After her arrest, she was presented with a magistrate and issued a $75,000 unsecured bond. She has since been released. So there's that. Oh, the man who attempted to assassinate President Trump was on trial this week. Um, and the jury found him guilty of attempted assassination. And after the jury verdict came in, uh, Ryan Ruth, who was the attempted assassin, stabbed himself in the neck with a pin after the jury verdict was passed, and that's horrific. Um, and they leapt on him and got the pin away from him, but uh, it was a rough day in the court for that process. Uh, UNC Wilmington, which last week had an active school shooter, is temporarily halting the use of its campus spirit rocks, which are rocks that students could decorate, paint, do poetry and stuff by. And it was kind of like a freedom of expression institution for the school. They are pausing the freedom of expression events following tensions and threats tied to recent campus incidents. Um, it's getting political and people are getting really divisive with their expressions, and so they're canceling the freedom of expression because anytime we cancel freedom of expression, that definitely helps with tensions. Um, yeah. Do, 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 do. A 12-foot statue of President Trump holding hands with Jeffrey Epstein mysteriously appeared in Washington, D.C. this week, um, and listed it as a monument to friendship. The statue did have a 5-day permit to be up, but was taken down a day after it went up. Instagram is officially going to let you start controlling your algorithm once again. You'll be able to weed out things that show up in your story feed, your real feed, and just your regular feed, as they are moving to give you more control and actually fine tune your algorithm a smidge. So that is coming over the next few weeks, as early as this weekend. In Southport, North Carolina, which is only about an hour and a half from me, over 2,000 gallons of untreated sewage water were accidentally released into a creek in Southport. accidentally, air quotes. Um, so 2,000 gallons of untreated sewage water into a creek in Southport, which is disgusting and terrible. Um, the Guardians baseball player David Fry was drilled in the face by a fastball that was going 99.6 miles per hour. The slowed up frames of this hit, of the impact of what it did to this dude's face, is ridiculous. He's air quotes okay, but jinkies. Um, let's see. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse will now officially release in theaters 1 week earlier, still putting it at June 18th, 2027. Y'all, this movie is taking so long. Literally, I'm gonna have a kid graduate high school. I might have two kids graduate high school by the time this movie actually hits theaters. Oh, apparently, our podcast is already up, Darren, and Tristan just put a link for it. Um, so that's cool. Tristan's all over it. Outcast will be celebrating the 25th anniversary of Stankonia, the place from where all funky things come. This with releasing on October 31st a 3 LP purple marble vinyl set with new art by Andre 3000. The collection also includes apparel, a CD, previously unreleased mixes, and B-sides. Stankonia is one of my favorite Outcast albums, period, and one of my favorite hip hop albums, period. It just also came along at a time in my life, like when I was 18, 19, and life was young and funky. Um, Bombs Over Baghdad, dude, is still like, if there's ever a song that's going to literally make me run, like where I have to pick up my pace, it's going to be Bombs Over Baghdad. And I will unapologetically rap all the lyrics in any social setting if Bombs Over Baghdad pops up. So just, you know, and I quote Bombs Over Baghdad in marriage counseling for people, in premarital counseling. That's a whole other conversation. But Outcast, 25th anniversary of Bombs Over Baghdad or Stankonia. Oh, you know what? This is just to tell you how much I love Outcast on this one. This is my desk right here. I have an emergency still in the bag, still with the tag. See, tag still on it. I have an emergency spare Outcast Stankonia shirt just in case I lose all my other ones. And I just keep this one in the desk for future safety because you never know when you're going to lose an Outcast shirt. Um, and they're hard to come by for big boys. Um, Back to the safety of my desk. Walmart started having Outcast stuff in 3X last year, and I bought one and kept one just in case. Anyway, Outcast Stakeonia 25th anniversary. Congratulations. Um, I don't think this next statement's not going to be any more. Darren says, Anne and I flew back from Germany with Outcast. That is the dopest occurrence just randomly. I want to see Outcast play again. Or period in my life. I want to see them play. That's so neat that you flew with them though. Um, this next story will be no less awkward than me reading from Song of Solomon last week, so it's okay. I've officially hit all of my awkwards. Um, Alyssa Milano, um, like the childhood uh girl next door, cute kid on TV that I grew up with on Who's the Boss and all the other things, the Double Dragon movie, stuff like that. Alyssa Milano officially went in for surgery to remove her breast implants this week because she wanted to be her authentic self and no longer try and live up to other people's expectations and what people push her to look like, which is applaudable. Um, and also, point of reference: the Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship is named after her, um, the Milano. Uh, John Cena has 5 dates left for his farewell tour. October 11th, Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia. November 10th, Raw in Boston, Massachusetts. November 17th, Raw in New York City. November 29th, Survivor Series in San Diego, California. And then his final retirement match, retirement match on December 13th. I'm probably going in for surgery in December on my spine. Potentially, I've still got to do some consults, but literally, I one of the things that I'm factoring in for planning my surgery is making sure I can be okay to watch John Cena's retirement match. Because I don't want to miss that. Um, Starbucks is officially going to lay off 900 workers in the coming weeks and close several stores in North America. According to their percentages, it'll only equal to 1% of stores closing, but they still are laying off a handful of employees. Um, when they're done to end the fiscal year, they plan to end the fiscal year with 18,300 locations across the US and Canada. So there will be some Starbucks layoffs and store closings, but it probably won't be that impactful for most consumers, just the people that actually work there. Um, some speculations have been drawn and connections been drawn in recent events to a 1998 Nicolas Cage movie called Snake Eyes, in which a um in the movie Snake Eyes from Nicolas Cage in 1998, a man named Charlie Kirkland is shot in the neck by a man named Tyler on September 10th in the movie. And so people are drawing a lot of connections to how eerily similar that is, and even down to the questioning of it if it was intentional in this capacity. But the internet's being the internet and doing their detective work with that. Amazon is to pay a historic $2.5 billion settlement for allegedly tricking customers into signing up for Prime and then making it too hard to cancel Prime. And if you've ever tried to cancel any kind of subscription, it's already hard. But they apparently went out of their way to make it harder and confusing for people. And so they have to pay out $2.5 billion to the people that have joined in on that lawsuit. Uh, Taylor Swift's album is coming quick. The Life of a Showgirl, and there's a lot more of their little internet detective work of all the things that she's doing. But she will make an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon coming up on October 6th. Uh, Paul Walter Hauser, who is one of the actively increasing names in all forms of entertainment. The man who is likely to end up winning some Oscars and Emmys real soon just for his performances. Recently featured as Mole Man in Fantastic Four. He's in the top in the land of doing a biopic on Chris Farley. Um, he's also been wrestling and doing professional wrestling. He's also an outspoken Christian. So this dude is just like literally all over the place with his life and actions. But Paul Walter Hauser, Yvonne Orji, and Jordan Sparks will be joining a new cartoon in the world of The Chosen, um, starring as animated sheep, pigeon, and fish, respectively, in the upcoming Prime Video Kids series. So there is an animated series from the world of The Chosen, and we're gonna get some big name stars as characters. And from what I'm seeing, it also looks like they're gonna be doing the lost sheep, the lost coin, etc. with that. But either way, that's interesting. Um, Crunchyroll, which is known for being the video hub for anime, is officially going to be debuting a Crunchyroll manga app in October of 2025, where you can pay a subscription to have unlimited access to manga. Hear me out, y'all. That's a world of library at your feet. This much goes along the lines of apps like Marvel's comics app, DC Unlimited, and stuff like that. But you'll be able to read an unlimited amount of manga for a subscription fee. And that begins in October of 2025. I'm actually kind of interested in that. Star Wars Visions Volume 3 will premiere on Disney Plus on October 29th. Do, do, do. Sony and Marvel have reportedly cast Marvin Jones as Tombstone for the upcoming Spider-Man Brand New Day. There's been photos of him signing Tombstone Funko Pops and some different stuff with that capacity. So that tracks. He also voices Tombstone in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Um, and he looks like he will be playing him in live action. So that's cool. Nintendo's president and COO of America, Doug Bowser, officially announces his retirement from Nintendo. Y'all, we live in an era where the CEO of Nintendo is named Bowser, and we're letting it go. That makes me sad. This dude, we've literally had Bowser as our COO for years. If the next COO of Nintendo isn't last named Wario or something, we riot. Um, and stuff I didn't expect or see coming. On October 8th, which is not far, there is a horror circus coming to Lumberton, North Carolina. Um, it's called the Horror Circus. It will be they're advertising screams replace laughter and fear takes center stage. It'll be at the Ag Center in Lumberton from 6 to 8:30 on or no 6 and at 8:30 on October 8th. I will be watching 21 Pilots at that time. Um, but that sounds like an adventure. Nas and Resorts World New York City are putting in a $5.5 billion proposal to build a casino in Queens, New York. It was approved with a unanimous 6-0 vote. So Nas will be building a casino in Queens. There is a new Silent Hill movie called Return to Silent Hill, which will be hitting theaters in January of 2026, which is not as far as it sounds like. Metro Boomin, the man who was responsible for almost the entire soundtrack for the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse film and recent WWE tracks, was found not liable in a civil sexual assault trial that came out about a year ago, but he was found not liable in that process. Uh, Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos sent Jimmy Kimmel and his crew an ice cream truck to welcome them back this week and bought ice cream for all of his crew. Um, yeah. There is a debacle and debate going on with a North Carolina wedding venue. That's in Durham, North Carolina, which I was just in yesterday. A semi-famous wedding venue called the Cotton Room is under fire um, for their lack of grace and empathy towards a couple. Um, a couple booked the room and very far in advance, and their wedding date is scheduled for October 11th. But um, Chris Perry, the proposed groom of the wedding, died tragically on May 12th of 2025. Um, so obviously the wedding's not going forward. And so the family has been in a battle since the death to get back the $20,000 deposit they paid for the cotton room. And I get it, a deposit's a deposit, but if the groom dies like almost 5 months before the wedding, you think you'd show a little bit of extra grace. And so they're taking it to the news outlets and things like that. People Magazine is covering it. Our local news is covering it and everything else. But if you've got opinions on that, feel free to chime in. But that is something that is causing quite a stink in the wedding world, which is I spend a lot of time traveling through. A dude was arrested um, outside of Travis Kelce's home as he allegedly hopped the fence trying to serve deposition papers to Taylor Swift on behalf of Justin Baldoni for that lawsuit. And so, yeah, not smooth. Um, and a really, really awkward, but also kind of funny um, interview that happened this week. Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent on Ted Lasso, was on the Drew Barrymore show. And if you've ever seen the Drew Barrymore show, Drew is known to get really close and touchy with her guests. And so, as she was doing this, Brett made the statement. He said that every time you move closer, I'm going to move closer to you. To the point where they were literally in each other's laps with their faces pressed against each other. And it was a whole vibe and a whole moment. And considering that last I saw that Brett is dating J-Lo, I'm worried for Drew's safety. So y'all be wise. Um, let's see. Uh, this past week in, make sure I get the right name on this church. This past week, uh, at Lake Point Church in Texas, 682 people got baptized. 682 at one church. Um, said that people were literally lined up sitting on the stairs waiting for this. 682 people got baptized during their church service. Bonkers. Matthew McConaughey is releasing a book of poems and prayers. What's up, Strawberry? Um, yeah, Matthew McConaughey is releasing that book. Let's see. Propaganda um, did an article this week with, if you're not aware, Propaganda is a poet slash rapper slash political activist, just all around talented and brilliant guy. Propaganda did an interview this week with Relevant Magazine. Some quotes stating life sucks and is amazing. You'll pray and not get what you want. Terrible people will get rich. Good people will fail. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be bitter or are you going to be present? He just had some good insight and inspiration for that. Propaganda also put out a poetry album this recently called The Beautiful Endling. That is just him doing poetry over some beats. It's beautiful. If you enjoy poetry, I highly recommend checking that out. Uh, Governor Grant Newsom signed a bill this week to resist some of Trump's crackdown on uh, ICE, specifically that ICE agents would not be allowed to wear masks during their investigations and efforts with that. Yeah, we covered Rapture talk. A study shows that we spend roughly 88 days on our phones. Um, 20, that's 25% of our time each year we're spending on our phones. There was also, and I'm not getting in this because I have no horses or dogs in this fight. There's also a lot of talk this week as um, our governmental leaders and healthcare leaders had a debate over the effect of Tylenol, pregnancy, and autism. Um, it was a lot. The internet was interneting. Um, let's see. Mark Zuckerberg is suing um, himself uh, as part of a lawsuit claiming that his law firm's Facebook account has been disabled 5 times in 8 years. Um, but it's cost him thousands of dollars in business. Um, that Zuckerberg had advertised, he'd spent $11,000 to advertise his own law firm on the social media platform and then for his page to be disabled. So, it's kind of an odd situation for you to sue your own company and sue yourself with that capacity. Um, yeah, stranger things have happened, oddly enough. But Mark Zuckerberg suing his own company for taking his own Facebook page down is wild. Um, but yeah, that's our news for the week. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's our news for the week. Good morning, Ashley. Thanks for jumping in. Um, but also wanted to throw out this week, Christianity Today, the magazine slash news podcast, put out 2 articles on geeks and ministry and the revival of Christian geeks and stuff like that. That featured a lot of folks that we interact with. If you want to check those out. Also, did 2 new sticker designs this week. One 21 Pilots, one a rehash or a revamping of the You See Flowers in These Weed stickers. But yeah, that's coming up. Uh, Tomorrow night, I will be hosting a concert event in Lumberton, North Carolina. That will be a fundraiser for Cause We Care, which is an organization that puts people in rehab facilities when they don't have the funds to do it. Basically, if someone is struggling with addiction and they want to get in a rehab facility and they can't because rehab can be really pricey, Cause We Care pays for it and gets them in a good facility. They're doing a concert and fundraiser tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in Lumberton. No cost to tickets or admission or anything like that, but they are doing a raffle for a fancy grill, and I'll probably put a book basket together for the raffle for that as well, for people to bid on that. But I'll just kind of be hosting the intros and transitions. They've got a former addict and gang member who's had a big life change doing some of the speaking, and 2 local bands doing music for that. So that'll be then. Our next con appearance will be at Boardwalk Comic Con in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That will be October 4th and 5th. I'm gonna go ahead and pour out dice so we can get ready for the Bible reading thing. October 4th and 5th, that is Boardwalk Comic Con in Myrtle Beach. Um, and then the week after that will be Boone Comic Con. October 19th will be uh Geek Church at Fayetteville Comic Con. And then Roco or Rico Comic Con. I gotta let's see if I can um find that properly. Um, because I keep saying it wrong. I say it's Roco Comic Con. Yes. Okay, it's Row Comic Con. There we go. Row Comic Con on November 22nd. Um, yes. I am quite the busy man. Oh, Miss Lynn says your dad, your niece, and I are coming to Boardwalk on Sunday. Hey, awesome. I look forward to seeing y'all there. I know the hurricane stuff could potentially be a factor between now and then, and hopefully it won't be, but I look forward to seeing y'all then. That'll be awesome. Um, yeah. So I think that's all of our announcements. Thank y'all for joining us on Instagram. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Um, and let's go ahead and see what we're reading. So, Fist is Old Testament. Uh, Scissors is New Testament, and then paper is all of it together. Which, by the way, new Pokemon cards come out today at local GameStops and stuff. So you might want to check that out if you care. Um, all right, let's see what we're reading. New Testament, AO. I'm excited. All right, so we're gonna roll two D20 and subtract one to factor in for the dice. No, there's 27, so we need a D10, and a D20. So this gives us enough to do all 27 books of the. We rolled a two, so we're doing the New Testament, and we're going to roll 30 for the dice and subtract one, and this will tell us which book of the Old Testament we're reading. Yeah, New Testament, by the way. I keep saying old. So seven and two. So that's nine. So we are going to be reading the eighth book of the New Testament. So it's not a gospel. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Second Corinthians. All right, and Second Corinthians has one, 12. Second Corinthians has 13 chapters. So let's roll and see which of these 13 chapters we're reading. And Jeff, yeah, I'm a busy man, but I also don't know how to be still. So working on that always. Um, see if we're doing 13. Let's just roll a d20 and see what we land on out of 13. Can always roll again. 18. Okay, we're gonna roll a different d20. 7. All right, so we are reading Second Corinthians chapter 7. All right, go ahead and get my highlighter out. That's not a highlighter. Okay. Highlighter, pencil, pen. All right. Move this mic back a hair. Second Corinthians chapter 7. All right. Therefore, since we have these promises, dear friends, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates the body, perfecting holiness out of reverence for God. It's a strong statement. Perfecting holiness out of reverence for God. Um, Paul's joy over the church's repentance. Make room for us in your hearts. We have wronged no one, we have corrupted no one, we have exploited no one. I do say, I do not say this to condemn you. I have said before, you have such a place in our hearts that we would live or die with you. Good grief, what a statement. I have said before you that you have such a place in our hearts that we would live or die with you. I have spoken to you with great frankness. I take great pride in you. I am greatly encouraged in all our troubles. My joy knows no bounds. For when we came into Macedonia, we had no rest, but we were harassed at every turn. Conflicts on the outside, fears within. That's another statement right there. Conflicts on the outside, fears within. But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by coming of Titus, and not only by his coming, but also by the comfort you had given him. He told us about your longing for me, your deep sorrow, and ardent concern for me, so that my joy was greater than ever. Even if I caused you sorrow by my letter, I do not regret it. Though I did regret it, I see that my letters hurt you, but only for a little while. Yet now I am happy, not because you were made sorry, but because your sorrow led repentance. Yet now I am happy, not because you were made sorry, but because your sorrow led to your repentance. For you became sorrowful as God intended, and so were not harmed in any way by us. Godly sorrow brings repentance that leads to salvation and leaves no regret, but worldly sorrow brings death. That's a whole can of stuff right there. Godly sorrow brings repentance, but worldly sorrow brings death. See what this godly sorrow has produced in you, what earnestness, what eagerness to clear yourselves what indignation, what alarm, what longing, what concern, what readiness to see justice done. At every point you have proved yourselves to be innocent in this matter. So even though I wrote to you, it was neither on account of the one who did the wrong, nor on the account of the injured party, but rather before God, so you could see yourselves for how devoted to us you are. By all this, we are encouraged. Yeah. In addition to our own encouragement, we are especially delighted to see how happy Titus was, because his spirit has been refreshed by all of you. I had boasted to him about you, and you have not embarrassed me. But just as everything we said to you was true, so our boasting about you to Titus was proved to be true as well. And his affection for you is greater than when he remembers that you were all obedient and receiving him without receiving him with fear and trembling. I am glad I have complete confidence in you. I'm glad I can have complete confidence in you. Dope. Um, what's up, Rushmore? Good to see y'all. Um, yeah, there's a lot of just good brotherly devotion and stuff with this, but that phrase that really kicked it off. Therefore, since we have these promises, dear friends, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting our holiness out of reverence for God. That's just a real strong statement right there. Um, gonna get ready to close. Gonna thank our Patreon supporters. Um, but as well, I want to share this one verse. That I read the other day. I think I'm going to start signing books and stuff with this. Second or third John verse 2. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even in your soul, as it is as your soul, and even as your soul is getting along well. I just think that's a good like greeting and departure. That dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. That's just a really great like sign off verse and situation with that. Third John verse 2. Thank y'all for taking the time to gonna lose some stuff. Taking time to listen, to be encouraging, to listen. If you're watching this on Instagram, you can always watch this on Facebook Live or later on YouTube. If you're watching this anywhere, you can also listen to it on our podcast channel. Before I go, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. Um, Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Miss Lynn Turner, who I'm going to see like next week, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn. It was great to see y'all last week. Jay Shee, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, saw him last week, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, who had a good time at Ocala Comic Con, I believe, from everything I saw. Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for being the encouragements and the support that you are. And I hope uh, that you are doing well. And as I just read to you in that third John verse 2 verse, I hope that things go well for you in your heart, in your life, in your body, and spiritually. And I look forward to seeing you all at a con real soon. Bye, y'all.